Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I'm here to reflect on my 2019 anticipated releases and whether or not I actually enjoyed them. So the point of this video is not to make myself feel bad for not getting to all of the ones on my list. I will, by the way, link the original video down below. That's not what I'm trying to do here, because I even knew when I made that list I was not going to make an effort to get to all of those books immediately. Those were just books that I was really excited about. So the thing that I'm interested in is not necessarily how many I read from this list, or not just that, but I'm more interested in if I actually loved all these books that I thought I was going to love. So out of a total of 31 books I talked about in that anticipated releases video, I'm not including the honorable mentions because I just decided not to. Out of those 31, I read 12. And out of ones that I still have on my TBR, so ones that I didn't remove for any reason, that's 12 out of 27, which is not quite half. It's like 4 out of 9. Which I don't think is too bad. Again, that's not the point of this video, but I actually had read more of them than I was afraid I had. So now we're going to go down the list and just kind of talk about and reflect on these books and if I've actually read them. And as I mentioned earlier, there are a few I've actually taken off my TBR for one reason or another, so I will talk about that when we get to those as well. These are going to be in order of when the books were published, because that's how I talked about them in the video. And the first one is The Girl King by Mimi Yu. This is an Own Voices Chinese-inspired fantasy, and this is the UK cover, which I really like. I have not read this book yet, but I'm still very much excited to and looking forward to it, so not a lot to say about that one. I also have Echo North by Joanna Ruth Meyer. That is a book I am still very much interested in reading. Actually, I think Joanna Ruth Meyer, does she already have 3 books out, or she's gonna have a 3rd one out soon? And I'm really interested in reading all of them, but I haven't read any yet. She does like fantasy novels and kind of fairy tale inspired retellings. I think Echo North was, I think that's one that was inspired by East of the Sun, West of the Moon. So I do still want to read that. The next book I talked about was Unmarriageable by Sonia Kamal, and this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling set in Pakistan, and I really, really enjoyed this. I believe I gave this one 4 stars, so good to know I was right about really enjoying this one. Next I have A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. I have not read this one, but I'm really excited to, and I have deliberately been putting it off because I think I'm going to love it, which is ridiculous when I say it out loud. But I recently read one of Bridget Kemmerer's contemporaries and really enjoyed it, so I am even more confident I'm going to love this one. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling that a lot of people have said really wonderful things about. I am definitely excited to get to it, so that one is for sure still on the TBR. Next I have Song for a Whale by Lynn Kelly. I just realized I probably shouldn't go into like a full synopsis for all of these, so I'll just hit some major points. But Song for a Whale is, I've heard really good things about it. It's a middle grade contemporary about a girl who is, I believe, deaf, and she learns about this whale who his song is on a different frequency than all of the other whales, and so they can't understand him, and so she really feels a connection to this whale, and I think it's about her going to see if she can find him or something. Like I said, I've heard wonderful things about it, and another thing that really interests me about this book is that from what I've heard, the girl, like the main character, she has a really supportive family and school, and like everyone in her life is very supportive of her being deaf. So she's still dealing with feeling separated from people, you know, like that she can't communicate in the way that a lot of other people can. She's still dealing with that stuff, but for once it's not because people are discriminating against her. That's just something that really appealed to me about that book. And then next on my list I have A Sprinkle of Spirits by Ana Mariano. This is the 2nd book in the Love, Sugar, Magic trilogy, and I did read this one. I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I love this even more than the first book, and this is like middle grade baking magic, wonderful family relationships. I just love this series. The 3rd book is coming out next year, early next year, and I can't wait for it. Next I have Courting Darkness by Robin LaFevers. This is the 1st book in a spin-off series to the His Fair Assassin books, and I really enjoyed this one. I also gave this one 4 stars. So a lot of high ratings so far, that's nice. And I actually did a full spoiler-free review on this one, so I will link that down below, but I did really enjoy that. Next I have Watch Us Rise by Renee Watson and Ellen Hagen. This is the first one on the list. I think I've actually removed this from my TBR. Obviously I haven't read it yet, and that's because I heard some later reviews about it that I think this is a book with a good idea, but from what I've heard, the execution is really bad. Like the characterization is really sloppy, and the writing I think I also heard wasn't that good. So I definitely want to read other things by Renee Watson. I don't know much about Ellen Hagen. Maybe if I hear really good things later, I might pick this one up after all, but that's an example of a book where after being excited for it, I heard some actual reviews and I'm like, you know what, maybe this is not for me. But the premise sounds amazing. And then The Beauty of the Moment by Tanaz Bathina is next. This is a contemporary romance, and I still definitely want to read this one. I actually own both books by Tanaz Bathina so far, and I really want to read both of them, but I haven't yet, but that is going to happen. Next I have An Affair of Poisons by Addie Thorley. This is a fantasy book that I think got mostly good reviews. Like, to be honest, I don't remember a lot of people loving it, but I think like around 3.5 stars is kind of what I was hearing. So I am still interested in it. The premise does still intrigue me. And then next is We Set the Dark on Fire by Taylor K. Mejia. I have heard very divided reviews on this, mostly positive though, and I do still really want to read this. Next, I have another one that I've actually taken off my TBR, and that is Beware the Night by Jessica Fleck. When I was first looking at synopses for books I was excited for, this one intrigued me, but the more I read about what the book is actually about, and how it was executed and the plot and everything, it just kind of ended up sounding very generic, and that was the feeling I got from a lot of people's reviews. They were saying that it's like, it's fine, but it's nothing special. And I don't know, I'm kind of just like not in the mood for that. So I will probably not be getting to that one. Next, I have The Bird King by G. Willow Wilson. And this was my first real fail because I absolutely hated this book. I gave it 1.5 stars. It is currently one of my least favorite books of the year. So did not go so well with that one. Although again, this is one where the premise sounded amazing, except for the fact that I didn't realize that most of this book would be multiple journey stories. Which is something I don't like, so that like critical research failure is partly on me. But I talk about, I think I talked about this book in a wrap-up that I'll link. This is one of those cases where even if I liked journey books, I still don't think I would have liked this. Like I just had a lot of problems with it. Yeah, so not a fan of that one. Next is kind of a disappointment, and that was Night Music by Jen Marie Thorne. I did like this book. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. So I did really enjoy a lot of aspects about it. I think a lot of the social commentary aspects were excellent, but I think there were some shortcuts when it came to character development and kind of like forgiveness that really bothered me. And also I didn't really like the lack of resolution for the main character, for the main female character. But I would still recommend it if the premise interests you, because I think there was a lot of good material there. It just wasn't quite as well fleshed out as I hoped. Next is Never Contented Things by Sarah Porter. And I remember when I talked about this book in that video that I had mostly heard kind of low reviews and people saying it was just super bizarre and weird, and I was okay with that. And I was, except then I started reading more specific reviews about why people didn't like it. And one of the things that really turned me off this book was there's like an incest subplot, or like attempted incest, or like incest in the past or something like that. I just don't like incest in books, and from the sounds of things, I'm not sure this one was handled in the best way of like really addressing that. So yeah, not a fan. And next I have Sherwood by Megan Spooner, which I absolutely loved. This was one of my favorite books of the year, so feeling pretty good about that one being on this list. I give it 5 stars, obviously. This was one of the 2 books that made me realize that I'm actually really into Robin Hood retellings. So that's kind of cool. I didn't know that about myself. Next, I have The Candle and the Flame by Nafisa Assad. This is kind of an interesting one. I gave this 3 stars. So I didn't hate it, but I was kind of disappointed in it. But I've seen some really good reviews for it. So I think this is just going to be a book that it really depends a lot on how you connect with the writing style, because that was one of the reasons that the characters felt so distant from me and made it really hard for me to get invested in the story. I've seen reviews from people who really, really enjoyed the writing, so I think if you do, you will probably really enjoy this one a lot more than I did. Next I have We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal. I have not read this yet. I really want to. I'm ashamed that I haven't read it yet, but I'm gonna get to it, I promise. Next I have Don't Date Rosa Santos by Nina Moreno. I also gave this book 5 stars. This is really beautiful, and it's just a wonderful, heartwarming, heartbreaking contemporary. I just loved it. I think all of the praise is so well deserved. And shout out to Rocky from Blonde with a Book for initially putting this book on my radar. Next I have I Love You So Moshi by Sarah Kuhn. I have not read this one. I still want to get to it. It sounds really cute. I also have The Beholder by Anna Bright. I actually really enjoyed this book, and the reason I'm surprised is because it's very different than how it was marketed. I actually won a review copy of this book, so this is my finished copy. I still kept the review copy though because it's like personalized and everything. But I really enjoyed this one. I think I gave it 4 stars. And one of the reasons I was surprised is because it was marketed as like a gender-swapped Odyssey retelling, and it's really not. Like I can kind of see where that comparison is, but it's just very different from what I was expecting, but in a good way. And I actually have a full review for that one as well, so I will link that if you guys want more thoughts on it. Next is Blood Air by Emily Wen Zhao. This one, there was a lot of controversy about the portrayal of, I think, the Black characters in this book, and there was a lot of discussion about whether that was inappropriate. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it was a big deal. So I don't know if I'm coming back to this one, but even before all that discussion started happening, the more I learned about the plot, the less I started to think it was a book I would enjoy anyway. So this might be one of those books where even separate from all the discussion about it, I just won't read because the story wouldn't appeal to me, but I don't know. Next is Ordinary Girls by Blair Thornburg. I don't know about this one. This is a contemporary Sense and Sensibility retelling that I was initially very excited for. And then I started hearing some kind of negative reviews for it. So let me know if you guys have read this, what you thought of it, because I'm kind of interested in the idea, but I don't know. It sounds like a lot of people didn't like it. And then next is The Storm Crow by Kaylin Josephson. This is kind of the same thing where I might still want to read it, but I've heard almost exclusively negative reviews, so I'd be really interested to hear if you guys did enjoy this one, what you liked about it, because the concept still sounds really good to me, which is why I want to know. And then next I have Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. I have not read this one yet. I'm excited but nervous because I initially heard, I think, pretty good buzz, and then after the book came out, I just seem to hear negative review after negative review for people I really trust. So I don't know. It's a fairy tale retelling, and it involves a weaving or a sewing competition, which is something that also appeals to me. So it sounds like something I should enjoy. But again, I've heard very bad things, at least overall. And then next is House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. I read this relatively recently and I really, really enjoyed it. This is another one where I heard only glowing things from early reviewers. And then it came out and suddenly it was nobody liked this book. So I didn't know what to expect, but I really enjoyed it. This is a super dark 12 Dancing Princesses retelling, and I kind of loved it. There were a couple of big issues I had, the romance I think was really unnecessary, and there was one thing about the ending that I didn't like. But overall, the atmosphere was so good. The writing I really enjoyed. I loved the world building and the magic, and I think one of the criticisms people had about this one was that it didn't feel unique enough. And I kind of disagree. I mean, for one thing, I don't think you have to have a completely unique world in order to be good at communicating that world, but I also think that the way the author put certain things together and the way she wrote things and explored things, I think that was more unique than people are giving credit for. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I just realized I've been forgetting to tell you ratings for some of these, and that's kind of the point of this video. The Beholder I gave 4 stars, and House of Salt and Sorrows I also gave 4 stars. Next, I have Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I loved this, which is not a surprise. I gave this 4.5 stars, so another hit. Silvia Moreno Garcia is just an author I consistently get excited about now. Have you guys seen the cover for Mexican Gothic? Have you read that premise? I am so excited about it. And then next on the list is The Bone Garden by Heather Kastner, illustrated by Matt Saunders. This is actually another arc that I won, and I really loved this. I gave this 4 stars. This is a really lovely, kind of middle grade, atmospheric, creepy, but heartwarming book. I don't know, it's just a little bit spooky, but also really sweet. I just really loved the balance of those things, and there's some great emphasis on friendships, and it just made me really happy and warm. I also have Rise of the Dragon Moon by Gabrielle K. Byrne. I have heard nothing about this book, so if you guys have opinions about this book, please tell me what they are, because I'm still interested in it, but I don't own it, and I, again, have not heard any reviews, so I think I'd like to read it. But I don't know. And then I also have The Downstairs Girl by Stacey Lee. This is actually an arc. I did not receive this for review, so it's not too bad that I haven't gotten to it yet, but I still feel kind of bad. I definitely want to read this soon. I have heard very good things about it. It's a historical fiction. Also, this is a really stunning cover. I definitely still want to get to that one. And then the last book on my list is Crown of Coral and Pearl by Mara Rutherford. And this is kind of like Rise of the Dragon Moon. I have heard almost nobody talk about this, but I am still interested in the summary, so any thoughts would be welcome. Okay, so now that we've gone through the rundown that I hopefully remembered to give you all the ratings for, so when I averaged them out of the 12 books on this list that I have read, the average rating was 3.96 stars, approximately. I rounded it off, which is kind of amazing. I actually feel really good about that, because 4-star, almost a 4-star average is pretty amazing for my anticipated releases. I was a little concerned that I was maybe just picking out 1 or 2 things I was excited about and not really looking into a lot of other stuff about the book, because as I talk about in that video, I like to go into books not really knowing too much about the story. So in this case, at least, it really worked out. So anyway, I don't know if this video is going to be interesting to anyone except me, but I found this really fascinating. I'm genuinely relieved, actually, that I had such a high average review for all these books that I was excited about. That makes me super happy. There was only one that was really a low review. So I guess that means I am pretty good at picking out books for myself, or at least with the ones I've read so far. Let me know how your guys' anticipated releases have turned out, or any thoughts on any of these books I talked about. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!